first time I saw a horror movie was, I was about 4 years old. My parents exposed me to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. And I remember the first few times I saw it, you know, that the whole intro where they say this is based on actual events, that just scared the shit out of me. And I remember for a while I wouldn't even watch the movie. I would listen to it from the kitchen. And it got to the point where I was so interested in what I was hearing that I would go back in there and catch little parts. And then I just, after a few times of that, every time it would come on or we'd rent it, I would just be in there watching it. And, you know, for a 4-year-old that could be pretty traumatizing, I guess, but I ended up loving it. And ever since, I mean, it's been a big part of my life. I remember when I was in kindergarten, I actually got in trouble because I used to chase the kids around. We had a tree house, and I used to chase them around with my jacket tied around my waist, pretending I was Leatherface. So my parents got a call about that. But you know, I mean, it had a pretty big impact on me. It's still one of my favorite movies, and I still remember the first time I heard John Larroquette do that whole intro. It just freaked the crap out of me. My favorite subgenre in horror is hands down slasher flicks. I love a good slasher flick. I really like psychological horror too, but I mean, there's something about just lining up a bunch of teenagers and mowing them down with a knife or an axe or a chainsaw, especially if it's done right. I think the first time eventually I found podcasting was I was online looking at some stuff about public domain horror and, you know, trying to find free movies, and I came across a podcast that talked nothing but about public domain movies. So then I started thinking, well, there's got to be more of these out there, and I started investigating, and I found several awesome podcasts, you know, and a lot of them are different because some are like spoiler heavy, and some are just, you know, guys who are having fun talking. They're more comedy, but they're talking about the same genre. So there's a wide variety of people in the podcasting community, but I think originally it was probably 4 years ago I came across it. I decided to start doing my own horror podcast whenever I first realized that I had all the equipment to record, and then from there I decided that not every podcaster represents every viewer of a horror movie. So, and I think the way I see certain horror movies it's unique. I don't typically agree with everybody on certain movies from the genre, so I think that's what really got me into it, because I wanted to represent a different kind of opinion. The best way I could describe my podcast is I like to talk about an assorted variety of things in the horror genre. I like to talk about horror movies, horror soundtracks, horror video games, horror books, horror magazines, and I like to have guests on the show to talk about it with me. Sometimes we'll take callers and pretty much cover anything in the genre. And sometimes we'll go, you know, a little bit outside the genre, but mainly I like to talk about horror movies. So a lot of podcasters have traditions, and one of them, a lot of guys like to drink beer before they shoot or before they start recording. I like to have a burger. I think a lot of times I'll have guests on my show and they enjoy the burgers I make too. This is you know, red meat gets your blood flowing, gets you ready to talk about some serious horror. Doing the show, you meet a lot of fans who have similar interests in things in the horror genre, and so, you know, right there it acts as a bridge to communicate with these kind of people, and it's just really cool. You know, you meet a lot of these people, and they'll fly out. You know, they're so interested, they've been on the show or to be on the show, and it's just it's a really good experience getting to meet all these people.
I'm on Corpse Lab today, and I'm going to be with Johnny, and we're going to be talking about horror directors from the earliest ones to the newest, all the way from Alfred Hitchcock all the way up until Uwe Boll.
The funny thing about Texas Chainsaw Massacre is that most people remember it for being this, you know, this violent movie, but aside from the sledgehammer to the head and, you know, the little amount of blood they used on Franklin's death, it was a pretty tame movie compared to the sequel.
Right. I mean, its reputation is, it's being the worst, the most grotesque movie, on the face of the earth. And it's not really that at all. I mean, it is I think it's a really intense movie, but it's definitely not the.
I would say my podcast is very well structured. I'm very particular about how I like to do segments on the show. I like to start off with horror news, then go into some voicemails. I'll take some live calls sometimes. And from there, I go into reviewing the movies, and we'll do, everything on there. We'll talk about the directors, the budget it cost to make the movie. And then I like to wrap up every episode by basically giving an overview of what the rest of the episodes are going to be about. I like to brainstorm, offer fans an opportunity to tell me what they want me to talk about on the show, so any guests they'd like me to interview on the show, or if them themselves would like to maybe call in and be a guest host sometime. I think the state of podcasting is that it's getting tremendously large. When I first started podcasting, there were a lot of people out there, especially in the horror podcasting community. But now it seems like every day I'm hearing about, 10 different new podcasts. And I'm really glad because I get to hear the opinions and the views of all these different people that, and I respect their opinions. It really helps get names of horror movies and unknown things out there for people to watch. You can get the director's name out there, you can get the feature, maybe you can help out getting it to play at festivals or something like that, or at least get the people involved a little bit of recognition so people at least start looking their way, because I think independent horror is where it's at right now. I mean, if you look at the big studios, they're churning out the same stuff. You're getting a lot of original ideas from these independent companies. I think there's a lot of friction in the podcasting community, mainly because a lot of people see it as a competition when it's really not a competition. And a lot of it stems from jealousy and things like that, when it's, like I said before, I mean, it's all for fun. If someone's getting angry at someone else, then they're obviously not having fun, and they should probably stop doing it. But other than that, I mean, there's not a whole lot of friction. It's just people causing more teenage drama than anything.
What's up with this guy? I mean, he only lets us film for a little period of time, and then he wants us to leave right away.
I know, he seems pretty weird.
I was thinking the same thing.
Let's go see what's going on.
What the hell?
I don't know. I'm scared.
What's in that freezer?
Oh my god!